Are you able to hear, all of you? Anyone please
sir.
respond? Yeah, thank you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. In our previous class, we have discussed about investment, the basic concepts, and then speculation, and the difference between the investor and the speculator. So what will be, who will be called as an investor and who will be called as a speculator? The basic differences we have discussed in our previous session. And now we are going to discuss about investment objectives. This is very essential part in the investment management. First, we need to know what are the objectives of investment. The first foremost objective of investment is return. Without return, nobody will come forward for an investment. So that is the first objective we can lay down is return income. As we have discussed in our previous classes, any investment will consist of generally two types of returns. The one is regular return, every year what the investor will get out of his investment. And the second one is capital appreciation, which we used to call it as capital receipts. These two returns we will get out of our investment. So that is where the total income the investor receives during his holding period will be called as return. He may have hold his securities for 1 year or 2 years or more number of years. But we will calculate return throughout the holding period, how long he kept those securities with him. The return can be calculated as follows. That is, return is equal to, the first we are taking as capital appreciation, that is end period value minus purchase period value. End period value means at the time of when we have decided to sell our securities, our assets. That is called as a sale value of our investment, minus purchase period value, when we have purchased, what is the value on that day. And sale value minus purchase value will come under capital appreciation, that is capital income or capital receipts. And other return is generally from the securities, it's a dividends. Both together will come under total return on our investment. So end period minus value minus purchase period value, we will get the capital receipts, capital appreciation, and regular return, that is if it is shares, dividends, if it is debentures, interest, if it is bonds, you will get an interest. So that is the regular return. So capital appreciation plus regular return, that will be the total return, and divided by purchase period value, then we will get the return rate of return. If you are divided by purchase period value, purchase value, then we will get the rate of return. And the rate of return, if you want to express in terms of percentage, that should be multiplied with 100. That is why the formula for return is end period value minus purchase period value, that is to identify the capital receipts or capital appreciation, plus dividends or interest, that is regular return, by purchase period value, multiply with 100 in order to express in terms of percentage. That is the return calculation. That's the main objective of investment is earning of returns. How much return we will add. That is why the investor must be able to calculate the return out of his investment. That's the first objective of investment. And once you calculated the return, we need to calculate the risk of the investment also. That is why the risk and return characteristics are taking vital role in taking decision of the investment. The risk, we can call it as risk, is variation in the returns expected. Variability in expected returns will be called as risk. Risk defines the variability in expected or anticipated returns. So there may be, once we have expected a return that is 10%, but it may come 10%, or it may be 8%, or it may be 11 or 12% or 13%. The variation will be called as return, risk. So risk means variability in anticipated రిటర్న్స్. అంటే ఎంతైతే చేంజెస్కి అవకాశం ఉంటుందో, మనం అనుకున్నంత రాకపోవడానికి అవకాశాలు ఎంత ఉన్నాయో ఆ అవకాశాన్ని, ఆ రాకపోయే అవకాశాన్ని we will call it as a risk, uncertainty. So uncertainty in the return or variability in the expected rate of return will be called as risk. So these two factors we have to, and we need to identify before finalization about investment. That is the basic investment, that is return calculation and then risk calculation. Once you have measured the return and risk, the next investment objective to evaluate is liquidity. We already know this. What is liquidity? The liquidity means the ease with which the investment is converted into cash. So the assets which easily can convertible into the cash will be called as liquid assets. So if you have taken cash is a liquid asset, you can you can directly pay and you can get it. In the same way, next, if you have taken cash at bank or debtors or stock, these are all will come under liquid assets, easily convertible into the cash. So that liquidity also we have to take into consideration. Once we have invested, if it is taken very long period and difficult to turn into the cash, సేల్ చేయాలనుకున్నప్పుడు మళ్ళీ కష్టమైపోయి ఈజీగా మనం క్యాష్ లో సేల్ చేయలేము అని అనుకుంటే కనుక లిక్విడిటీ కష్టం అవుతుంది. సో దట్ ఈస్ వై అలాంగ్ విత్ ద రిటర్న్ ఇన్కమ్ and along with the risk, we have to evaluate the liquidity position of that particular asset or the particular investment. If it is easily liquidated, then it will be good for an investment. If it will tough to liquidate it, it will become difficult as an investment. That is why we have to taken care of liquidity position of the investment. This is the third objective. And the fourth objective is the safety. The investment we have, while we are going to invest in any asset, we have to take care of what the safety position, what extent it is safe. So that is why it refers to the safety, means it refers to the legal and regulatory protection to the investment. So if I invested, is there any regulatory protection for that investment or not? Suppose we have lent to somebody, we have given loan to somebody, there is no regulatory protection. He may give or he may not give it back. So safety is very less over there. So that is why while we are going to invest in any asset, we should take care of whether it is legal and regulatory protection is there for that investment or not. Suppose if you have invested in the term deposits in a bank, so there is a regulatory protection is there. The regulatory framework which will be taken care of is RBI, Reserve Bank of India, will take care of about your investments in the banks. In the same way, if you have invested in the shares, equity shares, the SEBI, that is Securities Board of Security Exchange Board of India, SEBI will take care of your investment. Like that, you have to check while you are going to invest, is there any safety? Is there any legal and regulatory protection to the investment is there or not? In the same way, for every investment, there will be a regulatory protection. Suppose if you invested in the insurance policies, so there is again regulatory protection is there, like IRDA, Insurance Regulating Development Authority, will regulate and it will safeguard your investment. That is why we have to check before going for an investment, the safety or regulatory protection is there legally or not for our investment. After liquidity, we have to check this safety. And very important aspect, last but not the least, that is hedge against inflation. The returns should be higher than the rate of inflation. The hedge against inflation, the first clause itself I have mentioned, that is the return should be higher than the inflation rate. Otherwise, you cannot go, your investment will become useless. That is why while you are going to invest, we have to check the return we are going out of investment should be higher than the inflation rate. when I have discussed in the first class that while you are going to buy the refrigerator, a car, then if you postpone your current consumption after for 1 year, after 1 year, if your car value is more than what you got, then there is useless investment. So that is why hedge against inflation means, hedge means taking care of. That is hedge against inflation. That means the rate of return we are going to get out of our investment should be higher than the inflation rate. Then only you can go for the investment. So the returns should be higher than the rate of inflation always. Then only it will be a good investment. So that is why we can framework for the investment objectives. So broadly, we can take 5 objectives. The first objective of investment is return on income. The total income investor receives during his holding period, as long as he keep that his funds in that investment, that security, how much he will earn. That is return on income. Return can be calculated. Return is equal to end period value or sale value minus purchase period value plus dividends or interest by purchase period value into 100. So this is the formula for calculation of the return, and 100 multiplied in order to express in terms of percentage. That is the first objective, is we have to evaluate the return on income, how much we are going to get. Once you have evaluated the return, the second one is risk. Risk is variability of expected or anticipated returns. That is called as risk. And the return risk, later we have to think about the liquidity, whether our investment is easily convertible into cash whenever we require or not. Is it difficult to convert or easy to convert? So we have to take the liquidity position of our investment. So easily convertible investments will always will be a better one for this. So that is why we have to take in the investment objectives, along with the return and risk, the liquidity position. And once we have taken this liquidity, then we have to check about the safety, which is very, very important aspect, because until unless we are safe, our total investment will become gone. So that is why we have to check whether our investment is having legal and regulatory protection or not. So there should be a legal and regulatory protection to the investment. That will be called as safety. And finally, we have to check hedge against inflation. Hedge against inflation means the rate of return on the investment is higher than the inflation rate or not. That we have to check. So that is why the return should be higher than the rate of inflation. These are broadly, we can call it as investment objectives. That is return income, risk factor, liquidity position, safety position, and finally hedge against inflation. These are the 5 investment objectives I have formulated. And next we can say or discuss about the types, securities, various types of securities, because investment analysis is subject mostly it's related to the securities analysis. That is why we have to understand what are the securities, what are the classification of securities, and what are the securities available in the market. So they are securities means they are instruments, financial instruments which represent a claim over an asset or any future cash flows. The securities are financial instruments. It can be equity shares, it can be preference shares, or it can be debentures, or it can be any bonds. These are all financial instruments will be issued to the public. The financial instruments which have represents a claim over an asset, because if it is the total organization has become liquidated and insolvent, then these instrument holders will have a claim on the assets of the organization. The assets of the organization has to be auctioned, has to be sold, and the cash should be distributed among the financial instrument holders. That is why they have represent a claim over an assets and or any future cash flows. So once they have invested, they are eligible for claim for the future cash flow, that is on the profits. So they have claim on the profits and also they have claim on the assets. The securities means that securities are financial instruments which represent a claim over an assets or any future cash inflows, that is profits. And securities broadly are classified on the basis of return and source of issue. The securities can be classified based on the return, and the security also can be classified based on issuers who has issued the shares. Based on that also securities can be classified. If you have taken the classification in based on the return, there are two types of securities. They are fixed income securities and variable income securities. Fixed income securities means those security holders will get the return fixed every year. There will not be any change in the return. There will not be any difference in the return over a period of time during the holding period. Those are called as fixed income securities. Every year they will get the same return, the same income they will get. Those securities will be called as fixed income securities. If you are taken preference shares, they will get the fixed rate of dividend. If you are taken debenture holders, they will get the fixed rate of interest. If you invested public deposits or fixed deposits in the banks, the investor will get fixed rate of interest. All those securities will be called as fixed income security. There will not be any variation and there will not be any change in the return what they are getting. And the next is variable income securities. Variable income securities means the securities which will not give guarantee for the income. Any today, this year, if very huge profits, they may give high profits, high return. And next year, if there losses, they may not give the return. And third year, again, they got any good returns, good profits, they will give the good returns. That is why the return on these securities will vary depending on the performance of the particular issuer company. That is, if you have taken the equity shares are variable income securities. Equity share, the investors, equity shareholders will get dividends every year. The dividends will be distributed based on the profits earned by the company. If the company earned good profits, they will give good return. If the company is less profits, they will change and they will give less returns. If the company is in losses, they won't give return at all. So that is why the variable income securities are dividends, equity shares. Equity shares are variable income securities. And preference shares, debenture holders, public deposits, fixed deposits, these are all eligible for the fixed income securities. These two will be classified based on the return. Based on the return, the securities can be classified as fixed income securities and variable income securities. And the securities can be classified based on the issuers. Issuers means there are different types of organizations will issue the securities to the public. So issuers can be classified as the one government. Government can issue the shares or bonds, and quasi-government, and partly government, and partly is not government, and public sector enterprises and other corporates. Government means central government or state government. So central or state governments will use it to issue gold bonds, and the bonds which they will issue generally will be called as gilt-edged securities. Gilt-edged securities means these securities will be issued by only government, either central government or state government. So government, one of the issuers to issue the securities. And next is quasi-government. Quasi-government means it is partly government, not fully government. It is partly government securities, and the other part it's a private one. So if you have taken any municipal corporations and food corporations and any other corporations will be quasi-government. If urban, we say Kakinada Urban Development Authority or Godavari Urban Development Authority, it is a quasi-government. It is not fully government. So like this, these also will issue securities to the public for their funds. So those are called as quasi-government issuers. And public sector enterprises. Public sector enterprises means the companies, joint stock companies, the investment of the joint stock companies more than 50% in any joint stock company, that company will be called as public sector company, public sector corporates. It means in any company, the government is having more than 50%, that is 51 and above percentage of the investment or capital will be held by the government, then those companies will be called as public sector enterprises. If you have taken Kakinada, Coromandel Enterprises is a private company now, but previously it was called as Godavari Fertilizers and Chemicals Limited, owned by the state government. And later on, they have disinvestment. They have sold their securities to the Coromandel Enterprises, and now the Coromandel Enterprises is working as under corporate, general private company. So, alage if you have taken Vizag, Rashtriya Ispat Nigam Limited, RINL, Vizag Steel Plant will be called as RINL. That is the name of the Vizag Steel Plant, Rashtriya Ispat Nigam Limited. This is a public sector company. In the same way, ONGC is a public sector company. So these are all public sector enterprises. The public sector enterprises means the enterprises which having more than 50% shares by the holded by the government. Those enterprises will be called as public sector enterprises. And the last one is corporates. It can be limited or private limited. So corporate means general joint stock companies. So if you taken again here private limited and also limited, SRMT limited, whereas Bhavani Castings private limited. There is a difference between in the corporates also, private sector also. So big one is SRMT limited. These companies only end they have the limited. Again, limited means the term limited. If any company is having at the end term limited means the liability of the shareholders is limited to their investment. If it is a partnership firm, the liability is not limited. If it is sole tradership, the liability is not limited. Only joint stock companies, after the name, it will be mentioned as limited, which shows that the liability of the shareholders will be limited to their capital invested. They will not further, their personal assets will not be liable to clear them. So that is why there will be a name called as limited after public joint stock companies. So these are government can issue the shares, quasi-government can issue the shares, public sector enterprises will issue the shares, and corporates will issue the shares. So these will be called as classified the securities based on the issuers. And next important topic in the your syllabus in the first unit is the investment process, how it start and where it will end. This is the total, in fact, a total syllabus of our investment analysis and portfolio management is depicting here. The process, once you understood the process, you know the whole syllabus of investment analysis and portfolio management. So the investment process, the process of investment includes 5 stages. The first stage is, the important first stage is investment policy. The policy, before going for an investment, you need to formulate the policy to be followed for an investment. You must have a policy, what policy you want to adopt. The policy is formulated on the basis of investable funds, objectives, and knowledge about investment sources. These 3 aspects considered, and then you need to, the investor need to formulate the policy. So the policy should be formulated on the basis of investable funds. So first, investable funds means how much funds we are having to invest as a surplus, how much funds we are having through our savings for investment. So if you have very huge funds, a big funds, you can invest in a equity shares, or you can take for risk, or like that, how much funds you are having. So then you will be the risk seeker, or you may be the risk averter. So you need to identify first investable funds, ఎంత డబ్బులు మన దగ్గర ఉన్నాయి ఇన్వెస్ట్ చేయడానికి, దాన్ని బట్టి పాలసీ ఫార్ములేట్ చేసుకోవాలి. The first priority is investable funds. And the second priority is objectives. What is the investor objective? That should be identified. He wants to earn huge, big income, or he's a moderate operator and then he wants a minimum income is enough. And these are all has to be discussed. And in objectives, and the investor must also have knowledge about investment sources. So until unless you have proper knowledge about investment sources, it will become difficult. Your investment will become fail. So that is why if you would like to invest in a securities or shares, so you should know where the information will be available and what are the sources, and you must have a knowledge about that. Otherwise, you will maybe losses. So that is why before the policy has to be formulated, for formulation of the policy, you need to consider the three aspects. The one is investable funds. The second one is what are the objectives of the investor, and the third one is knowledge about investment sources the investor is having. If it don't have the knowledge, then you cannot go for an investment. So that is why these three factors has to be considered before formulating investment policy. The three aspects are investable funds, ఎంత డబ్బులు మన దగ్గర ఉన్నాయి, ఆబ్జెక్టివ్స్ ఎందుకు మనం ఇన్వెస్ట్ చేస్తున్నాం, ఏం కావాలని ఇన్వెస్ట్ చేస్తున్నాం, అండ్ నాలెడ్జ్ అబౌట్ ఇన్వెస్ట్మెంట్ సోర్సెస్, ఎక్కడెక్కడ ఇన్వెస్ట్ చేయడానికి అవకాశాలు ఉన్నాయి, దీని నాలెడ్జ్. ఈ మూడింటిని బేస్ చేసుకొని we need to formulate the policy, investment policy. So this is the first process. First process of investment is policy to be formulated. The policy can be formulated based on the three aspects. The one is investable funds, the other one is objectives of the investment, and the third one is knowledge about the investment sources. ఈ మూడు మన దగ్గర ఉన్న ఎంత ఉన్నాయి, ఎలా ఉన్నాయి అన్న దాన్ని బట్టి we have to formulate the policy. The first investment process of first stage. And if you come to the second stage, once you decided and formulated the policy, then you have to go and understand about the security analysis. So you have decided to invest in the securities. Either it can be equity shares or preference shares or debentures or bonds or gilted securities, whatever it may be. Once you have taken a decision to invest in the securities, next you have to analyze the securities. So in order to analyze the securities, you have to analyze economic analysis, industry analysis, and then company analysis. These three has to be analyzed, carried out for the purpose of purchase of securities. Before purchasing of securities, the investor has to analyze economic analysis. So which country economy is good, whether economy is in the recession or it is going ahead, how the economy is, the country economic conditions, is it unemployment conditions or employment providing conditions, growing or declining. These are all has to be understood first. That is, before discussing about the security analysis, the first aspect is economic analysis. Once you completed the economic analysis, suppose if Indian economy is good at present, so then you can decide put investment in Indian economy, anybody in the world. And next you have to check where, in which industry has to be discussed. I mean, which industry has to be good for an investment. So industry means, as already we have discussed in the previous sessions, industry means the group of companies which produce homogeneous products is called as industry. Industry means the group of companies which produce homogeneous products are called as an industry. So if you have taken, many companies will be there in the industry. So it is like leather industry, fertilizer industry, steel industry, automobile industry. Like that, industry means group of companies. You have taken automobile industry, there are n number of companies are there, like Tata Motors is an automobile industry, Maruti Suzuki and Ford, like any other automobile companies, all will come under one industry, that is called automobile industry. In the same way, fertilizer industry, NFC and Nagarjuna fertilizers will come under industry, APR fertilizers will come, and Coromandel enterprises also will come. So that is called as a fertilizer industry. Like this, industry means the group of companies which produce homogeneous products are called as industry. So once you have identified in which industry is good for an investment, that is sometimes in fertilizer is good, sometimes automobile industry may be good, sometimes aqua industry may be good. So that is why we have to identify which industry is good for an investment. Once you identified the industry, then you have to go for the company analysis, individual company analysis. That is, if you have decided automobile industry, again in the automobile industry, where you can invest, in which company you can invest, in which company shares you can buy, that you have to decide. That is, in automobile industry, as I told you, you have the Tata Motors, and you have the Maruti, you have Ford, you have Hyundai, you have Honda. So in which company we can invest, that has to be analyzed. Which company is good, which company is performing well, that has to be decided. So economic, industry and company analysis are carried out for the purchase of securities. So once the security is analyzed properly, then you have to find out the intrinsic value of the share, that is real value of the company's share, that will be called as valuation. So intrinsic value of the share is measured through book value of the share and or price earning ratio. Based on this, you can identify, you can value the particular interest, real value, real worth and real value of that particular company's share, that has to be measured. This is the third stage in the process of investment. First, investment policy formulated, and securities analysis should be done. So once analyzed, then you have to valuation of the securities. This is will come under security analysis or investment analysis. Next part is portfolio construction in the investment process. Portfolio is diversified to maximum return and minimize risk. As I told you, portfolio should be constructed with the different securities which gives maximum return and minimum risk. That is portfolio construction, having or purchasing different type of securities with your own funds, and then you have to, that portfolio should be maximum return and minimum risk, that has to be constructed. And once you have constructed a portfolio, then you have to evaluate the portfolio. If it is construction, okay, you are getting the returns, but always it may not be maximum return and minimum risk. That is why you have to even then you have to evaluate that portfolio performance. That is why portfolio evaluation should be there. The performance of the portfolio is appraised and revised. So as frequent as possible, you have to revise, you have to sell some security, and then you have to buy one security. You do buy and sell within the portfolio itself in order to continuously getting high return and low risk. So these are all the 5 stages in the investment process. This itself is our total syllabi of investment analysis and portfolio management. So the 5 stages of investment process is investment policy to be formulated, and security analysis or investment analysis, different securities has to be analyzed properly, and next you have to value the, it means measuring of intrinsic value of the shares has to be done, that is valuation of the securities. And the fourth one is portfolio construction, that is purchasing different securities which can give maximum return and minimum risk. And after the 5th stage in the investment process is portfolio evaluation. The financial performance of the portfolio is appraised and revised in order to get continuous maximum return and minimum risk. So this is all about investment process. Hope you understood. I will close the session for today, and then let us discuss in the next session different types of securities available in the capital market and the advantages and disadvantages of the different types of financial instruments which are available in the capital market. So here we have discussed about investment process and then investment objectives and classification of the securities. In this session, we have discussed all these three. Okay, so hope that you understood.